A one-of-a-kind design, a one-of-a-kind fan base. It was like a religion. The same fans sat in the same seats and watched wrestlers grow and grow. They saw wrestlers come and go, and then eventually the company decided to go away from Dorton Arena and so many other locations, and the fans said bullshit. But the fans never forgot the memories that they created in Dorton Arena, inside those hallowed halls with the unique design, and the legacy goes on and on and on and on. The wrestling don't stop till the beat of dawn. I'm John Renton with my review of When Giants Walked Here. It was a PBS special that aired a couple days ago. I just got around to watching it. If you have this on your DVR and you have not gotten around to it, please check it out. It is well worth it. Support your local PBS affiliate. It was really great to see some of the old pictures, the old footage, hear from some of the old wrestlers, hear from some of the historians, the local media, the local people that talked about the design. This was a really unique documentary, so to speak. It was only like 56 minutes long, and actually, after you got done with, made possible by these particular, entities, and then they got to the end credits. Actually, really was only like a 50-minute documentary. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. I would have liked them to maybe go 90 minutes, maybe even 2 hours, but maybe they didn't want to retell so many of the same stories and focus more on the history of Dorton Arena and hear from some of the wrestlers that are still alive that were willing to be part of this. It was really nice to hear from that. So, yeah, let's just get into it. So, it was sponsored by Lee's Fresh Market and Artifact Legal, whatever those are. I'm not in North Carolina or anywhere near. I'm literally on the opposite side of the country. It's from Slugline Media. Who saw the movie Slugs? It was like that French, I think it was from that French fuck that did Pod People. Remember that? John Piquer-Simon? He also did Supersonic Man. That's a fun fact. Let's get back to wrestling. So, Dorton Arena, Raleigh, 7,610 max capacity. But the unique design, like the fact that there were, it was like it was like steel. It was like just a weird design. Like it was supposed to be modern, but it had this shape, like, in the middle. It had such, a unique design as far as the windows. And it was a dome shape that looked like it could have been just plucked out of a sci-fi movie. And I mean that with respect. It just has such a great look to it. Looked like it could have been from, some far off, like, 50s, 60s idea of what the future would look like. And the site of many great moments. They talk about a couple here. I really, I never got to see a bunch of wrestling shows from there, like even on TV. I had to seek out more of them because I could see why Jim Cornette talked about, the memories that he was part of, or the shows he was part of on his podcast, like talking about being part of Dorton Arena. They even showed a clip a little bit later on. I believe it was the one where he mentioned the baby doll hit him in the back of the head, and actually he saw stars. But a lot of great talent has come through there. The talking heads weren't the same as they ever were, not once in a lifetime. So David Crockett, and it was really actually kind of nice to hear from him. So a ring announcer named Brad Stutz, who works with a local promotion. John Hitchcock, who's a longtime fan. I want to say Cornette and Les have talked about him. I could be misconstruing the name. Bruce Mitchell of the PW Torch. George South, who apparently still wrestles, and he's got to be in his 70s at this point. Or he wrestled until recently, like in the last, number of years. But we hear from the Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant. Woo, Marseille, it was great. And also at the end, I do want to say, just getting ahead a little bit, we actually do see Jimmy Valiant cut the promo. Not making a whole lot of sense if you tried to write that shit down, but man, Jimmy Valiant was so unique. C.W. Anderson, Shane Helms, Hurricane Helms, Gregory Helms, whatever you want, call him by. Stand back. There's a helmsman coming through. And a lot of really great, interview pieces here. Again, I would have liked a little bit more of this to be expanded on. Maybe they'll do a director's cut at some point for people that, support their local PBS affiliate. That would be kind of nice. It'd be kind of nice if they did a Blu-ray edition. I don't think they ever will, but the old pics and the footage and just the loads of passionate fans. I mean, you saw men, women, just generations, and some that weren't inbred. I'm sorry, I can't help it. But I think I even saw a full row of teeth, among 5 or 6 people there. Enough. I'm done. I'm done picking on that. I'm done doing that. But there were some people that were there that were so old when they were in school, the Emancipation Proclamation hadn't even been enforced yet. But wrestling's like live theater, good and evil, or good versus evil, chaos, violence. The amount of talent that came through there, Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Tully, Arn, the Road Warriors. Yes, the Warlord also was there. There was a clip of the Warlord with just weird hair, and I don't know why that made me laugh so much. But wrestling was like a religion. It was an aspect that became part of the culture. The old scheduling books, that's some shit I would have liked to have seen more of. That's really cool. That's the kind of wrestling history that I like to see. But Jim Crockett Sr. started promoting, I believe, boxing in 1933, boxing and wrestling. He was able to basically grow his business. 1961 clips, just a lot of really great shit here. The Buddy Rogers audio. I was like, oh, this is the kind of history I could sink my goddamn teeth into. It's great. Joe Murnick was a promoter there. Elliot Murnick was was related to him. But man, just that Buddy Rogers audio. I was like, man, just how good was Buddy Rogers? I mean, I don't think anybody watching this was alive when Buddy Rogers was, even wrestling. I'm talking about even in the maybe you were alive in the late 70s when he was doing some of his comeback. But yeah, built in 1952-53, or opened in 1952-53. The concrete arches, the unique design, the futuristic design short film, futuramatic design short film. I really like that shit. World War II aftermath, basically build modern buildings. Let's, have a boom, an economic boom because of the suffering, I mean, the U.S. create a lot of jobs, but also it put a strain on that. And also, we joined shit late because that's just what we like to do. It's like, we don't have to worry about World War II. What? They bombed one of our harbors. Kill them all! That's basically what we did. I mean, that is. Michael Bay turned it into a movie. It was ass, except you got to see Kate Beckinsale. So, Dr. J.S. Dorton in 1937 basically was tasked with, expanding the North Carolina Fairgrounds, like stuff as far as circus, as far as events and all that. And that's how Dorton Arena came to be. You did have Matthew Nowicki, who was a Polish architect, not the Polish Hammer, the Polish Power, Ivan Putski. But apparently he was well-renowned, actually survived as part of the Polish resistance in World War II. The old drawings of the arena, just seeing this history, just seeing this stuff, and I forget the guy's name. I didn't write all the names down, but the guy that was talking about the history of the designs, that was really cool to see. And the steel cables going, underground, and just a way to form it and just basically shape the building as it is, shape it like that, and just the design, just looking at the outside and the inside. That is a very unique fucking arena. Nowicki was helping design this stuff. He went to help in India build a new capital city. Stopped off to refuel in Cairo on his way back, and then unfortunately there was a plane accident. So there you go. And since he died, the citizens wanted to help. They took to him because it was an institution there in Raleigh to support people. Matt's wife and others helped. And basically that's how Dorton Arena got built. The Korean War did stall the building to the point where it probably could have opened up maybe in 48, 49, but it got delayed till 52, 53. It works as a way to bring people together, all kinds of cultures, all kinds of stuff. And I will say that wrestling is probably one of the greatest forms of bringing all classes of people together, all races and all genders of people together, ages and all that. It's just a way to bring people together. Sure, there are creeps among the fandoms, but they're few and the good are many. So it was like, they built the circus. Well, it was a circus tent, and it needs a new circus. Hence wrestling. The old programs. We see shots of the old programs all the way from 61 all the way to the 80s. This is the kind of cool shit. You just see Black Jack Mulligan. You see goddamn Flair. You see all this stuff going on. Just the fact that the wealth of talent that came through that would rotate in and out. No wonder people wanted to be part of Jim Crockett Promotions, Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. And, being part of TBS and all that and the explosion there. The tickets were $2 to $3 back then. I mean, even adjusted for today's money, that's about 10 to 12? Maybe? 8 to 10? Or 8 to 12, something like that. I mean, I think we're going 4 times if we go back in maybe the 80s. But fans would reserve seats. People would sit in the same thing. You wouldn't sit in this old lady's seat, or she might swing her purse at you. And then, say, back in my day, we respected our elders, even if she remembers Methuselah. But enough about Zoe Stark. That's a deep cut for wrestling fans. Earl Hebner weighed in, and it was nice to hear from Earl Hebner. Nothing about him suddenly leaving Crockett with very little notice and showing up to be part of the twin Hebner thing. How much did they pay for the plastic surgery, Mean Gene? But you didn't want to piss the fans off. You wanted to park on the good guy's side, not the bad guy's side. Or they would be pissed at you and the fans would arrive early. Even if the wrestlers tried to arrive earlier, the fans would arrive earlier and say, fuck you, we're going to throw shit at your cars. Jimmy Valiant, what a piece of work. What a character. And I mean that with respect. I mean, Jimmy Valiant had such an extension to his career, even after he had been part, of teaming up with Johnny Valiant, being part of the Valiant Brothers, being a great heel team, being a great face team, didn't matter. But the fact he was a Boogie Woogie Man, he feuded with Paul Jones for seemingly about 20 years. It was only like 5, but it just seemed like looking at the local TV and looking at the pay-per-views and the big cards that aren't pay-per-views that were put up on YouTube. God, that feud lasted forever. Bobby Fulton, is good to see him. I know he's been battling cancer. He got a clean bill of health, but obviously it's taken a toll on his voice. He is doing better. That is great. One half of the Fantastics. It was boiling. There was no air conditioning. That was also a way to push concessions, sodas, and popcorn. Oversalt the popcorn a little bit. You sell some more drinks. Good marketing. So, refs or even bookers would go back and forth between the face and heel locker rooms because they were separate at the time to give finishes. Oh, they don't like that. Let's go there. Tommy Young would be blown up going back and forth. I wish I'd been able to talk to Tommy Young, but I know after his referee career ended when unfortunately he suffered a neck injury, head snapping into the ropes. That was in mid to later 89. I would have liked to have heard from him, but that's all right. A lot of wrestling fans, even in the South, considered the WWF being for kids, the Saturday morning cartoons, all that stuff. But the Mid-Atlantic was a bloody Mid-Atlantic. It was a way to really drive things home, and it was brutal. And kids loved it. They loved watching their heroes bleed. Maybe didn't love watching them bleed, but they loved watching them triumph. So, we see black and white, old footage. We see 70s studio footage, even if it was like older tape, 4th, 5th generation VHS tape. Yes, kids, VHS tapes actually used to be the way you watched wrestling, believe it or not. But renowned murderer Jimmy Snuka was shown hitting the Superfly Splash. He did the same thing to Nancy Argentino and still had a career. Yeah, fuck Vince McMahon for doing that. So anyway, TV wrestling, you'd have matches, you'd have angles, you would have important stuff occurring, but it would all be geared towards building to the live events at places like Dorton Arena. Or like Coliseum shows. Big shows and everything, but since it was focused on Dorton Arena, they talk about Buddy Landel. They went a little bit in on the Buddy Landel stuff, Buddy Landel and Ric Flair, which was nice to see. I knew a little bit about it, but maybe not this much. Buddy Landel would get under anyone's skin, I believe is what Ric Flair was quoted as saying to Gordon Solie. Ric Flair was so important to Crockett. By 1985, things were exploding. Buddy Landel was going to be the heir apparent, or was at least going to get possibly a run against Rick. We're like maybe with the championship. I mean, who knows? Who knows if it actually was going to happen? July 31st, 1985, though, Landell versus Flair. They had these matches, thunderstorms. There were fans that were trying to get in. There was a traffic jam. Bruce Mitchell, the PW Torch, talked about the matches, or that match years later. Talked about lightning striking, illuminating. It was like straight out of like goddamn Roman Colosseum. It was incredible. And Rick wanted to take some time off, to spend time with his family. Save one of his many marriages, I assume. And Buddy was basically being groomed, not in that way, to be the guy to run with the championship for a while. He was already the national champion, which was a way to be a stepping stone to the World Heavyweight Championship. But then, Buddy basically, instead of flying, decided to drive and was going to get messed up because he was a drug addict and an alcoholic by his own admission. Jimmy Valiant tried to stop this, said, "Come stay with me, Daddy. Come stay with woo, Mercy. No, come stay with me. I'm gonna help you." But he didn't do it. Buddy hung up on Jim Crockett. Was not there to TV on time. Showed up at noon. And I think TV started at 9 or 10. And Dusty promptly said, "Hand over the national title and you're fired. Get the fuck out of my office." Dusty is the only man I know that could add about 18 S's to words where S isn't even close in the alphabet. So then we flash forward to a 1995 clip from Smoky Mountain Wrestling where Buddy admitted to all his faults. And actually, it's a shame that we never got to see face Buddy Landell run for too long, because he had admittedly fucked himself up. Now, he went to Memphis, I believe went to Mid-South sometime after that. I think he went to Mid-South like late 85, early 86. But yeah, he was gonna get a chance. He was gonna get at least a chance to possibly run with the title for a little bit. And Buddy Landell was a good worker. Do not misunderstand me. I don't know even if he had had his head on straight, if it would have worked long term, but it would have been interesting to see. But that's also coming from somebody that just is looking back on the stuff that did not live during the time when Buddy Landell was in his prime. 1986, they show Baby Doll with Warlord. I don't know why people call Baby Doll a perfect 10. A .10, maybe. Yeah, Warlord. Boy. Big, impressive, and what could you really do with the guy? Apparently a really nice guy, but it's just he was big and he was impressive, and as long as you worked around his limitations, which were many, he would do fine. So, we have Magnum TA, Dusty Rhodes, Midnight Express clips, the aforementioned Cornette being knocked out by Baby Doll. And then the expansion, and the fans are getting pissed off because Crockett had absorbed St. Louis, or Central States, absorbed the Universal Wrestling Federation, formerly Mid-South Wrestling, Florida, all this stuff. Had absorbed Georgia Championship Wrestling, when Georgia Championship Wrestling basically was completely dead in later 85. And he had all this stuff, but the problem is he didn't have a proper bookkeeper. He was paying too much money, even though they were making a bunch of money. Jim Cornette said in a deposition, easy for me to say, that Jim Crockett Promotions grossed $21 million, just on live event tickets. That's about $50 million in today's money. Thereabouts, 50, 55. That's impressive shit. So basically Dave Crockett talks about how they lost their ass due to bad management, bad decisions. They pissed off the Carolina fans. This is where things start to wrap up, because then we really just, push forward into the modern day. After Ted Turner basically acquires Crockett after helping get them on pay-per-view, acquires it, puts Jim Herd and a bunch of other people in charge, and basically ruins the whole damn thing. Pissing off the local fans. I mean, it went from like where they were selling this place out to maybe where sometimes they'd have 6,000 fans there, or they'd have 5,000 fans, and then they'd have 1,000 fans. Fans are pissed off. People lost their jobs because of that, and then we go all the way to 2016. Apparently, just that, nothing happened between that. I mean, I don't know. Rumblings were the wrestling was going to come back to Dorton Arena. Maybe not full time, but at least often enough with enough big independent promotions that were willing to try. Big time wrestling, it was 2/26/2016. 2016 was certainly a weird year. So, Shane Helms chimes in, talks about, helping run Omega Wrestling, which I did not know was actually still running at that point. I know him and the Hardys were helping run it, but whatever, I digress. Joint venture with Big Time Wrestling. We see the promo footage of Helms talking about, facing C.W. Anderson, talking about the importance of Dorton Arena. And you can tell it meant a lot to a lot of wrestlers. C.W. Anderson talked. Helms talked. We see Jimmy Valiant showing up. Jeff Hardy, what was left of him by that point was wrestling. They said they had around 4,000 people there. I'll eat your hat, because it looked like they might have had 2,000 people there. They had people on the floor. Maybe they had people in the stands. I don't know. I'm not here to judge, but based on all the empty seats there and the actual capacity of the building, I think they probably had maybe 2,500, whatever. It was still impressive for an independent promotion. All the wrestlers were on the show. They showed clips of the Rock and Roll Express and various others. And in December 2022, we just smash cut there, properly skipping over 2020 and 2021. Those glorious years. Absolutely glorious. We all made it, folks, at least most of us. FWE show, whatever that is. Frontier Wrestling Entertainment. I don't know what it means. Wrestling's occasionally around the Dorton Arena. David says that Jimmy had mentioned that he thought that they failed. Well, yeah, maybe financially, but we create a lot of memories, and the memories live on. Close with old footage and old, and commentary about the old, community and the fans that still, even remember the glory days, such as Bruce Springsteen said. And we close with a Jimmy Valiant promo, and that was kind of nice. And if I actually had, not only if I had the funds, but if I wanted to travel all the way across the country, I'd like to see Dorton Arena, maybe see a wrestling show there. Even if it wouldn't be the same, it'd be cool to see just witness the atmosphere. It's nice that they kept the building up, and it's still, based on, the shots, outside and inside, it still looks pretty much the same, and that building has been around for 70 goddamn years. So, pretty good piece overall. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm Charles Recklin. I'll see you soon.